When it comes to telemental health sessions, should clients be responsible for protecting their own privacy? For example, if a client and clinician are having a telemental health session through video conferencing, if you think about it, the technology that's involved is you have a video conferencing platform that has a lot of vulnerabilities to the security of some very sensitive information. Then you have each of the users' computers or their smartphones, their internet access, how they manage passwords, et cetera, et cetera. So, is it the clinician's responsibility to inform the client as to how to protect their own privacy when receiving telemental health services? So, let me give you an analogy. If a client is going to see a behavioral health professional in an office, then let's say that behavioral health professional knows that people that come to their office, they sometimes get a parking ticket for parking in the wrong spot, or there's a step that is hard to see and people sometimes trip over that. Like, the clinician assesses what are the possible risks and then informs the client so that the client can be well informed. Well, when it comes to technology for telemental health, the clinician is the one that selects the technology. Not only does the clinician select the technology, other than the client's own internet service and own devices, but the platform in which they're communicating, say video conferencing, text, email, whatever it is, the clinician chooses that. So not only do they choose that, but the clinician on their end, they have a legal and ethical duty to analyze the potential risks of using that technology that they use for healthcare and to have a plan for mitigating those risks. So when you look at the laws and ethics around that, one thing we have in the United States is HIPAA law, which is the law around the privacy and security of healthcare information. And that law requires that the healthcare provider, the covered entities under HIPAA law, have to evaluate that technology and come up with a risk management plan for using that technology. They also have to have a HIPAA business associate agreement from the technology vendor. Not only that, they have to have reasonable assurances that the technology vendor is actually complying with HIPAA law. So there's a lot that goes into that in terms of the technology on the clinician's end, and also the communication between the clinician's technology and the clients, say sending information through the internet. So anyway, so legally and ethically, that's the responsibility of the clinician. So one thing that gets a little bit tricky and confusing here is the technology on the client's end. So the question is it reasonable to expect clients to be able to understand how to protect their own privacy using their own technology? Like, is that just simply the client's responsibility? Should the client know to only use a device that they have control over and that they know is configured, in a secure way? When I say configured, I mean just not using, say, a work computer or school computer or a computer at the library or a friend's computer, but using their own devices or devices that they feel confident are fairly secure. Or with their passwords, like, is it important to inform clients, hey, now, don't share your passwords, or when you log into your session, make sure to log out when you're finished? Like, are those kind of things just obvious, and should we just expect that people know those things? Or should clinicians give some guidance to clients on how to protect their own privacy when using technology. So in terms of like the laws and ethics around that, there's no like law or code of ethics that I'm aware of that says, yes, clinicians have that duty to inform clients on these things. Um, However, ethically that we shouldn't do any harm and we should do good to our clients. Well, if you're the one selecting the technology that's used for telemental health services and there's some innate risks to using those, you could be putting the client at harm by inviting them to use that technology to receive services and not informing them of those risks. And obviously, we want to do good to clients. Now, there was a practice guideline provided by the American Telemedicine Association. So, the American Telemedicine Association, they've provided guidelines for video-based online mental health services. And in 2009, which I think was maybe their original document on this. So in 2009, when they were talking about potentially saving information on devices, let's say a client is saving some of their medical information on their own device, it says that the clinician ought to give guidance to the client as to how to avoid, inadvertently uh, putting that information at risk. Now, in the American Telemedicine Association's future additions uh, to the guidance for telemental health sessions, I haven't seen it there. I was actually the editor of the most recent edition that they have on guidelines for telemental health sessions, and yeah, I have not seen it there. So the question is, should clinicians do that? And that's a decision that you'll have to make for yourself. So think for yourself, is it really reasonable for you to expect your clients to understand not to use open public Wi-Fi or not to share their passwords and all those kinds of things? So it's interesting that just recently, on October 17th, 2023, the Department of Health and Human Services, they published an online document titled Telehealth Privacy and Security Tips for Patients. So what this is it's tips to clients on how to protect their privacy when using technology. And they go over some really good things here. So like they say some pretty obvious things, but they're really helpful, such as only have your sessions in a private location. Turn off nearby devices that might be listening to you. We all have these voice activated devices. Use your own personal devices. Do the security updates on your devices. Use unique passwords. Use the lock screen feature. So when you're done with your session, your screen will be locked out. Make sure to delete any medical information off of your device that you don't need. So it's not just sitting there for people to see. Use two-factor authentication, use encryption tools, avoid using public Wi-Fi, and ask your provider if you have any questions about the security. So there's a lot of, of the basics of securing technology. So that document's available, and you can make that document available to your clients. Just share a link with them. It's just kind of good device hygiene and good security measures. All right. And then on our website for a long time now, we have had a document. It's not about specifically protecting the privacy of your information when using technology, but it's about how to prepare clients, or how can clients prepare for a telemental health session. So for example, it says, first ask your provider for instructions. Okay. And then second, finding a space that is private and most conducive for telemental health sessions. And then use good technology, high-speed internet, et cetera. So it talks about the technology piece. Having good lighting for your for your camera, uh, the fact that your clinician is going to be verifying your identity and your location, and some tips about how to resolve some basic tech issues that might arise when receiving telemental health sessions. So, we want clients to have a really good experience when receiving telemental health sessions. So, typically, we recommend that before seeing a client, you'll have a tech check, or client orientation is what it's called, where you go over different things. Uh, But for the purposes of this video, I want to inform you of the new document provided by the Department of Health and Human Services, and also for you to consider whether or not you ought to inform clients of the basic security measures for using technology. Thank you for listening, and we definitely like to see your comments.